I told you, this thing is bigger than Nino Brown, and I got a list of proof.
Order.
If I'm going down,
Order in
I'm
the
taking a
court.
whole lot of
I
people
said
with me.
order in the court.
Nino Brown Boxing, and I'm back in the building. Shout out to the LDBC. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. So, man, it's been a lot of talks when it comes to the discussion of Terence Crawford and Errol Spence. Mainly, what I'm focused on in this video is it being basically Terence Crawford being held accountable for the choices that he made. And by the choices that he made, I'm referring to Terence Crawford was signing with Top Rank, his ESPN deal, which is keeping him away from the opportunities that the PBC have. Now, I agree with that 100%. It's just certain small details that I feel like it's not being taken into consideration. It's certain inconsistencies when it comes to it as well. So the first thing I've noticed is, like, the talk comes with from both sides. Terence Crawford should have came over to the PBC if he wants those fight with the welterweights, that being Errol Spence, Keith Thurman, Sean Porter. And honestly, I understand that. That's something that statement alone, it can't be disputed. But it's just certain factors with that where it's like, clearly Terence Crawford is comfortable where he is. And then at the same time, okay, Terence Crawford, he wants to make these fights. Now, I'm looking at it like this. When Terence Crawford signed with Top Rank, when he re-signed with Top Rank at the time, Errol Spence Jr. was a champion. He was a champion at 147, and he couldn't get the other guys under the PBC banner to fight him. Like, that's fact. Now, that was a discussion that the boxing community, the LDBC, everyone was talking about how Danny Garcia, why not fight Errol Spence? He has the IBF belt. Sean Porter, why not fight Errol Spence? He has the IBF belt. And that's when Kenny Porter was talking about the whole, oh yeah, we're not messing with the IBF, they dropped us from the rankings, all of that shit. Like, all of those are facts. All that stuff is documented. We all remember it. Now, with that being said, I'm sure Terence Crawford may have been looking at it at that point in time. I'm not playing Monday morning quarterback and refer to the fight that just happened this past weekend. At that point in time, Errol Spence couldn't get a fight with Keith Thurman. Errol Spence couldn't get a fight with Danny Garcia. And Errol Spence couldn't get a fight with Sean Porter. He was a champion. So, this could be a main reason why Terence Crawford didn't come over to the PBC at that particular time. Now, fast forward to now, this past weekend, all the shit that just happened, great fight. If Terence Crawford would have decided earlier on, well, back then, to leave the Top Rank and be over at the PBC, it would have came out to be a brilliant move. But it was one of those things with Terence Crawford, he couldn't tell the future. He wasn't able to know, like, this was going to happen, when it was going to happen. He could only go off of what was in front of his face. And that's what he did. All right, that's fair. I understand. Now, Terence Crawford is in a position, where he could buy out his contract, like plenty of fighters did with Top Rank in the past. Now, that's the action part. I'm sure Crawford, even though he may not say it to the media, even though he may not say it to the public, I'm sure Terence Crawford, it's crossed his mind at some point. Terence Crawford is definitely aware of what Floyd Mayweather did. He's definitely aware of what Oscar De La Hoya did. So, all right, cool. But even if Crawford came out and said it, it's just talk until he does it. Like, I'm not going to be out here talking about, oh, yeah, defending Crawford, saying, oh, yeah, but Crawford talking about buying out his contract. If he hasn't done it yet, it doesn't really matter. Now, a person that's on the PBC side is very comparable to Terence Crawford, but he's been in the situation longer than Terence Crawford, and it's rarely ever discussed, especially at the level that Terence Crawford's situation discussed. And I'm talking about Jermall Charlo. Jermall Charlo is with the PBC. And we're talking about Jermall Charlo, the middleweight. We just got finished talking about Terence Crawford, the welterweight. Jermall Charlo, the middleweight, has been a middleweight since 2017. Jermall Charlo he was a middleweight before Terence Crawford became a welterweight. Now, we all are aware that all of the middleweights are currently on the zone. And I remember in the past when people were saying, well, Danny Jacobs, he can't get a fight with these guys. This was before the Canelo fight. This was before the Triple G fight. What sense does it make for Jermall Charlo to lead the PBC and sign with the zone like Danny Jacobs did, and Danny Jacobs didn't get the fight? That shit sounds real familiar to me. That sounds like the same logic that Bud Crawford diehard fans are using for him, or they were using for him. What sense does it make to do the switch if Errol Spence isn't getting those fights? All right, point taken. Now, I'm at a point where it's like, we've seen Danny Jacobs get those fights. Okay. Now, has Demetrius Andrade gotten that opportunity? No. Yeah, but Errol Spence's only opportunity when it comes to that main crop of welterweights, it's only been Sean Porter at this time. All right. So it's like a limit for both guys. Now, the big difference that I'm noticing is a lot of the spotlight when it comes to making moves has been put on Crawford, when we all know the middleweight division is just as popping as the welterweight division, depending on how you look at it, depending on what you prefer. Now, I understand that Canelo is on some bullshit and trying to stir things up, but it's still other guys there. So basically, when it comes to the Jermall Charlo and when it comes to Terence Crawford, and I take a look back on their resumes when it comes to who they fought as a middleweight and as a welterweight. Now, I decided to take some screenshots because I didn't have it memorized. So far, Terence Crawford as a welterweight, he fought Jeff Horn, he fought Jose Benavidez, and he fought Amir Khan. None of these guys are top guys at the welterweight division. We all know it. When we're comparing Errol Spence to Terence Crawford and who's Errol Spence facing when it comes to being a welterweight, it doesn't compare. Those are all facts. We all know it's low-level competition compared to the top guys in the division. But that same argument that we all talk about when it comes to Terence Crawford, the same shit applies to Jermall Charlo. Now, looking at this, it says June 9th, 2018 is when Terence Crawford made his welterweight debut against Jeff Horn. Now, I go over to Jermall Charlo. Jermall Charlo made his middleweight debut on July 29th, 2017 against Jorge Holland. Then after that, he fought Hugo Centennial Jr. He fought, what's this guy named? Matev Khaborov, and then he fought Brandon Adams. None of these guys are top guys in the middleweight division. Now, some people may say, well, those guys don't want to fight Jermall. I agree with that 100%. They don't want to fight Jermall. But Jermall is on the other side of the street, just like Terence Bud Crawford is on the other side of the street. Now, like I said about Bud, is he could talk all day about buying out his contract, even though he hasn't said it. Saying it or not saying it, talk versus no talk, it's not action. Terence Crawford hasn't inserted any action to get away from Bob Arum to make an effort to get those fights with the guys on the PBC. And as far as I know, that's as far as we know. I haven't seen any reports or heard any type of action that Crawford has put in. And when it comes to Jermall Charlo, he said he's willing to go over to the zone. But my understanding is Eddie Hearn offered the Charlos contracts. And even if, let's say he didn't, let's just say that was just Eddie Hearn on some bullshit, I haven't seen Charlo actively pursue it. Because we all know how Eddie Hearn goes, and it is what it is. You know, he a slimy car salesman, used car salesman. That's just the way he operates. But my thing is, the action that's associated is lacking on both sides. There's no action from Jermall Charlo to actively try to attach himself to the zone to gain that opportunity at the middleweight division. And there's no action on the side of Terence Crawford to actively link up with the PBC so he can get those opportunities at the welterweight division. So basically, to sum all of this up, I understand the perspective for Terence Crawford. It makes sense. It makes perfect sense. But the same shit goes for Jermall. And to me, it doesn't matter what side they're on. It doesn't matter who their promoters are. At the end of the day, both of these guys have the ability to put action towards achieving their ultimate goal. And if their goal is to unify and get the big fights, no situation is guaranteed. Shit, Earl Spence just got granted his opportunity. It just became reality this past Saturday. So nothing is actually guaranteed, but putting yourself in a position for it to happen is the only thing that's within your control. And when it comes to physically making those moves, Crawford hasn't done it, or Jermall Charlo hasn't done it. So all I'm saying is the same energy that's pushed towards towards Terence Crawford, that should be applied towards Jermall Charlo as well, because actual action has not been applied. Now, if Jermall signed with the Zone and he's been waiting for an extended period of time, then I will understand, and vice versa for Bud. But neither guy has budged. Both guys are fighting lower level competition compared to the top guys in their division. Both of those guys have a belt. Jermall has the WBC belt. Terence Crawford has the WBO belt. And the reality is, they want to unify. They want to fight the top guys, but they're both on the wrong side of the street, so they're unable to do it. And basically, both of these guys need to be pressured equally, because last time I checked, I want to know who the best guy is in all divisions. That's not a unique standard I have strictly for the welterweight division. It's a standard that extends to the middleweight, junior middleweight, heavyweight, light heavyweight, so on and so on. So with that being said, to me, to Nino Brown Boxing, Jermall Charlo and Terence Crawford, they're in extremely similar situations. It's not identical, obviously, but it's damn near close. And with them both actively pursuing it and actively putting themselves in a position, because at the end of the day, that's all they got control over, is putting themselves in a position, like Gary Russell put himself in the position when it comes to Leo Santa Cruz, but ultimately he can't make the fight. He can't make the fight. And but even, you know what, man, even the Gary Russell situation it seems like it brings further understanding to how Terence Crawford feels, because Gary Russell has been with the PBC. Santa Cruz has been with the PBC. And no matter how much Gary Russell yell, scream, go up to Leo Santa Cruz family members, he still don't got the fight. So all I can say is the only thing they can do is put themselves in a position and hope for the best after they do that. And when it comes to Terence Crawford at welterweight, when it comes to Jermall Charlo at middleweight, neither one of those guys have done that. It's Nino Brown Boxing. Shout out to the LDBC, and I'm out.